6, 7. More like 10 to 12. Let's talk about it here in Below the Belt, which is sponsored by D&M Leasing and Window Nation. This one caught fire yesterday as we all await what we presume is going to be the firing of Matt Eberflus. We were talking about it yesterday just among the media. We were talking outside the locker. We're like, when do we think we're going to hear about this? And everybody was pretty much in agreement like Thursday, Friday. So it is probably, I think everybody feels like it's going to be about 4 or 5 days. But there's some concern in Cowboys Nation after yesterday. The quote from Brian Schottenheimer was put out there that they will be making decisions in the next 10 to 12 days. So we went and pulled the entire clip, and I pulled the question leading into it. So it was Nick Harris asking Schotty a question, but this is the full context of it. I still think that what Schotty's saying here is basically like, yeah, like it's just kind of like a loose timeline and that they'll be making decisions throughout. But this was the question and answer from Schotty.
Are you working on a mental timeline as far as getting the big decisions made?
No. I think you just go through the process. And I think, when you go through the process, my belief is it becomes very clear, what you want to do and what you need to do. And, but, I don't think you rush into any of these decisions. I think, you got to go through the process and you got to do the work. And the work is not easy. The work is tedious. And we're going to be working just as hard, over this week and the next, 10 to 12 days to get through all that stuff just so we feel good about everything.
And that was it. So now hearing the full context, does it make you feel a little like, okay, that didn't sound nearly as rigid?
Well, he said the big stuff.
He said a week, and then he went, 10 to 12 days. Like, I think he's very much just being kind of fluid, open with it.
I don't know if it's going to be his... I would guess it's totally not his timeline.
Right, because it's probably not his whole decision.
I would guess that Jerry Jones... Now, Jerry also has been more patient. He drug Garrett out. He drug McCarthy out. What I've thought with Jerry this year, doing the interviews twice a week with us in KNC, is that Jerry has kind of bowed down, is for lack of a better term. He's kind of admitted to the falling on the sword in front of the fan base a little bit more. We messed up in the secondary. It's not all on Eberflus. I think he knows that people want blood. And I think the longer this drags out, now maybe he doesn't care. Maybe he's saying, it'll be a talking point on all the shows for a week or two, however long we take. And if we lose other candidates and other hires, so be it. The 2 weeks worth of exposure is worth it. I hope he's not thinking that way. I would not put it past Jerry to do so. And he also may be thinking, even if we brought back Eberflus, that stadium's still going to be filled. We're still going to be the number one talking point. Bringing him back would cause people to erupt and have us in the headlines even more. I still don't think any of that is happening. I think Jerry tells Schottenheimer by tomorrow at the latest, this week, we're announcing that we need a new defensive coordinator.
Yeah, and they may have made the decision internally days before they announce it publicly. I have no doubt about that.
It should have been made during the course of the season.
I think they made the decision in the minutes after the Minnesota game. I think that's when he was done.
Minnesota game,
I think he was done.
Refresh us on that.
So they went on the 3-game winning streak. Jerry has said publicly, he said with KNC, I thought we turned the corner, and then the Detroit game happened. I think that shocked him. When Minnesota the next week, it happened again. That's when he was done.
And he should not have shocked anybody that the 4 NFC North teams put up ungodly numbers on this team. They all scored, 31 or more?
I mean, everybody scored 31 or more against them this year, it felt like.
First time giving up 500 points.
It's the only time, I think, out of all 17 games, their opponents scored less the week before and week after the Dallas game in all 34 of those possibilities or whatever it is, scored more, except in one instance, Washington scored more the week after. But that was it. Like the week after last week. Otherwise, it's just been that.
Listen to what Jerry did say, that they do kind of want him back just for Bobby's meltdown.
This is what Jerry had to say about it again over the weekend. Don't blame it all on Flus. This took 5 or 6 years to get here. I can make a case for you. We have not had a satisfactory defense for 5 or 6 years, really. Shots fired, Dan Quinn, and the reporters followed up. What about DQ? He said, we were porous when we got in the playoffs. We were porous when we had to buckle up and stop the run. Dan did a great job. We really wanted to keep Dan. So, in one sentence, I can make the case we didn't have a good defense with Dan Quinn here, and then at the end, I really wanted to keep him.
I think if Schotty walks in to the office today and tells Jerry, we need to fire Matt Eberflus today, and I need to start talking to people, then I think Jerry would do it. I don't think he's going to just walk in and say that. I think they're going to.
Why not?
Because they got player exit interviews today. I think he probably wants to focus on that. I would imagine that they're going to get through. So they've got these different exit interviews they're doing with players, coaches, staff, different things like that. I think he wants to get through all that and then make like the announcement. I don't think they want to just blow somebody out and then deal with everything that comes with that while they're trying to get through their exit interviews. So I think that they're going to wrap that up. That's how they've typically approached it.
Well, the names are lining up.
Yep.
The names are being added to the list as we speak. You have now maybe Jim Schwartz with Kevin Stefanski getting run out of there. Raheem Morris got fired yesterday. Is one of the names you mentioned his DC?
Yeah, so Raheem Morris, his defensive coordinator, Jeff Ulbrich. And then I think somebody else to watch there.
Was Ulbrich the Jets intern?
Yeah.
He was the Jets defensive coordinator. So on the Hard Knocks Jets stuff, he was the like really passionate, like player-driven defensive coordinator. The defenses got worse in New York when he left. The Falcons got better this year when he got there. Like, he's been a solid defensive coordinator.
They have an interception.
And he's very much the big culture, like, player connection guy, too, that like, Schotty clearly wants here.
More of that.
But I think that...
Are you mocking the culture, Calvin Clarence Hill?
I literally want you to point me to a Super Bowl winner that didn't have a player connection coach.
I mean,
other than like Bill did, but Tom Brady was
yeah.
It's Brady.
I don't
if you go
problem.
through, Andy Reid is a player connection coach. McVay is a player connection. Like these do exist.
McVay is a genius, like,
and McVay
offensive mind.
still like is a big connection guy to the players.
I'm not saying you don't need that. I'm not saying you don't need that at all.
It just sounded like you said that.
It's just like, I don't know. Culture is great when you're winning. Culture stinks when you're losing. That's generally how it works.
I'll tell you, you can run things like Belichick, but everybody has to be like Belichick, and everybody was. Flores, Joe Judge, they all were like that. You can't have Schottenheimer, like, if you're going to run things a certain way, whatever your culture is, whether it's hard asses or whether it's like we're all like a family here, everybody's got to be that way. That's why you can't, if somebody's not like that, you have to go find a coordinator who's like that. They're going to need it. And that's why Flus hasn't fit.
Is that true? Because Andy Reid had Eric Bieniemy, and he was the yeller, right?
Right, but he's still somebody who like is thought of as being like it's like, come here, you're like my tough love guy or whatever. Spagnuolo's the same way.
Sure.
Like his coordinators are both like that. But some of the names that are out there, I think Raheem Morris, Jeff Ulbrich, the defensive coordinator, and their defensive passing game coordinator in Atlanta, Mike Rutenberg. Rutenberg is the one that I think might bear watching. He's somebody who trained with Gus Bradley, and Gus Bradley came from that Seattle system that the Cowboys liked with Chris Richard and Dan Quinn. He got his start basically in coaching at the same time as Aaron Whitecotton. He and Aaron Whitecotton were all together in Jacksonville for several years. Then they were in New York for several years together. And he is considered a run game like whiz. And just like they went and got Clayton Adams, who's a run game whiz, Rutenberg is a guy who got all the credit for turning Quincy Williams into an all-pro player. And they felt like their linebackers in Atlanta played a lot better with him this year. So he's somebody who really sharp run game guy, has a lot of, like, because he's kind of a back seven coach, is definitely more secondary minded than he is in the trenches. And I think Aaron Whitecotton's the only defensive coach that's safe. I think he'll be back. He'll be in charge of kind of the trench game. And then what they're going to have is they're going to hire somebody to be really back seven focused. And that to me that's a name that you got right there. Jim Leonard from the Broncos is one.
Wolchuk's guy.
He's been all over it. I kind of wonder if Carl Scott, who's been the passing game coordinator for the Seahawks.
That's not a real person's name.
It is.
Carl Scott.
It's with a K, too.
That is zero creativity.
I think another guy to watch, if you want to look at some of the concepts they want, I think they want increased blitz. Like, they want somebody who's going to be more of a bigger believer in blitz. They want somebody who believes in late coverage rotations and disguised coverage rotations. I think they also want somebody who's going to play more press man coverage. If you take those three things and say, all right, which teams ranked the highest like cumulatively in blitz rate, press coverage, and then also in disguise coverages, rolling cover 3 into cover 4. The number 1 team in football with that this year was Atlanta. And that's the Raheem Morris. And it's not exactly Fangio, because Fangio's not like as blitz happy, but it's kind of Fangio adjacent. There are aspects of it that are similar to Fangio that still believe in things like creepers and sim pressures and doing different things like that. But
we believe in creepers.
I think that it's important to look back at who does Schotty have connections with from past stops? Who does Schotty...
Yeah, but didn't want to...
Who does Schotty... not necessarily that person would come here. Who has worked under that person? Because he's going to get advice from them in a lot of instances. He really respects Fangio. He respects Dan Quinn. He respects Gus Bradley. Like, I would imagine he's going to hear things from those people. And that would add up to finding somebody who's going to be a little more blitz happy, somebody who's going to play more press, somebody who's going to disguise coverages.
Now everyone's going to ask, whose call will it be? Whose call was Eberflus? Everyone's been trying to figure that out. And then whose call will this be?
I think it'll be Schotty's. Here's the thing. This was said right after McCarthy left. Somebody with the Cowboys had told me Mike never knew how big his voice was in the building. He didn't know how much power he had to wield. And so a lot of times he just assumed there wasn't power for him to wield, and he didn't understand he did have power, that if he would have just said something, they would have done it. I think similarly, Schotty last year probably had it suggested. I was like, yeah, sure. And it's late, and probably you don't want to fight on the very first decision. But if he would have said, I think last year, I don't want Matt Eberflus, I don't think they would have hired Matt Eberflus. I think they suggested it, and he was like, sure. So I think if he wants, I think he's probably learned from that, as people do in their first year of their jobs. And he, I imagine, is going to say, I want this. I need this on that side of the ball. And those concepts, then, you can start narrowing down what coaches fit that.
If I thought about, like, if I had a 1% chance of bringing Eberflus back and he said what he did the other day in that presser, I don't think I'd do anything differently. I would have had to call him in immediately if I was Schotty and Jerry and ask, why the hell did you say that? I really want to hear a good explanation from you. But because he's already gone, that sit down, I would not have scheduled that meeting because I already got his stuff packed mentally.
I will say
that statement. I was like, "F you, man, F you."
Yeah. And I kind of wonder.
I think that was kind of his F you.
Yeah, I think he's
defiant,
and I think he's trying to show like I did everything right. These players weren't right. Well, this pass rusher wasn't here. He's trying to do his own damage control at this point. I will say one name. Just do keep an eye maybe on Gus Bradley too.